as important as it is for them to come and see us, it's just as important for us to go see what they do. Why is it important that I put that integrator in? What is the patient impact when it's missing? Or there's debris in the set? Or there's a missing instrument and it wasn't identified on the outside of the trial.
What if one conversation could save a life? What if one new process or new product could save a patient from surgical harm? Broadcasting from a hospital basement near you, you're listening to the Beyond Clean Canada podcast, the voice of medical device reprocessing from C to C to C. Each week, we spotlight the people, processes, and products from around the country and the world that are disrupting our profession and helping you fight dirty. Every instrument, every time. Join us as we have the kinds of conversations that matter and give our industry the kind of voice that it deserves. And now it's time to go True North strong and beyond clean.
All right, Canada Beyond Clean. Welcome. We have two very exciting guests today from the East Coast, MDRANS, actually, the Medical Device Reprocessing Association of Nova Scotia. Joining us will be Becky White and Pam Hunter, who are very close friends to Barry, our co-host. But first, before we get started, a little word from our sponsors.
From the studios of Healthcare HQ, you're listening to Beyond Clean Canada, the voice of sterile processing from C to C to C.
On today's episode, we have Becky White, supervisor in the MDR community, and Pam Hunter, manager in the MDR community. We're going to discuss the importance of building positive relationships within your healthcare setting, and also building strong positive relationships outside of your own healthcare setting. For example, with provincial associations like MDRANS, MDRAO, and national associations like CAMDR, and what that looks like, and the benefits of building those positive relationships and the value that it has. We're also going to touch on, with Becky, her recent cancer diagnosis and treatment as well. So she's still working every day in spite of being in the fight for her life. So very inspiring. And we're going to close with that. So our first question.
Welcome, Becky and Pam.
Welcome, Becky and Pam, for sure, to the Beyond Clean Canada podcast. First question to Becky is the importance of the relationship between the OR and the MDR. How do you view that, Becky?
So I feel that the relationship between the OR and the MDR is extremely important, absolutely critical, not only with the OR, but all of the areas that we serve. We serve a lot more people than just the ORs. You know, it's a high stress environment. When the teams work together, it can go seamlessly. If they're not working together, then there can be some issues. We're all here for the same reason, to ensure patient safety. So we really need to work together, not just with the OR, but also with all the clinics that we provide to, the floors. Nothing would run in that hospital without an MDR.
Now, how many areas in the hospital do you serve your MDR?
Oh, my heavens. We have a lot of clinics.
Do you?
Yeah. And we have the floors, and we have...
do you do third party? Does clinics come to you from outside the hospital?
Yeah. We have external places that send their instruments in, and they go back out. The department I supervise is 24/7, so we never close.
Ooh.
We're a trauma center, so very, very busy.
And Pam, how about you? How do you view that relationship and how important it is between the OR and the MDR?
So that's a hard answer to follow coming in after Becky, but I'll give it my best. I guess, Barry, for me, I consider myself lucky. I started in the industry probably years before you guys were even born. And back then we had a manager who was part of CSA, actually part of CSA. So I learned as a baby that the OR was very important, the standards were very important, and we've been, we just kept that relationship, not only with the OR, but infection control. Like we're just a team. We have to be that way. I think the relationship between the two, though, is integral to the efficient and effective operation of both departments. Not only do we need each other, but the patients need us to work together as well. We share very similar goals. We hope for the same outcomes. So it's important that we have the same focus. It always has been our goal to have staff into the OR. Sometimes that works really well, and other times due to staffing and other issues, we don't get there, but we always get back. I don't know, collaboration, communication, team meetings, these are all things that we do with the OR. Barry, you work in the OR almost 100% of the time at the VG, and you know how important those relationships are.
Definitely, yeah. I get a chance to act as an ambassador. Like you said, Pam, I spend most of my time in the ORs, and I find in our healthcare setting, we got a great working relationship with the OR, and we don't get too many unrealistic calls demanding this 5 minutes ago or this medical device in 10 minutes. They've toured our department numerous times as well, so they know what we have to work with, so to speak, and they know our capabilities too, and some of us, our limitation. It's a great working relationship that I find that we have with them, right? So, and I know I hear some horror stories from, other LinkedIn stories or some other webinars that we listen to and stuff too, right? But I've got to comment and say that, yeah, it's been super positive for everything that I've been a part of with this relationship, yeah.
Yeah, our 3 major centers with ORs in them, we have a really good relationship with all of those ORs. So we work hard to maintain that because sometimes finger pointing, happens, but we try very hard not to do that and to collaborate and communicate and work well together.
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, we are a team. Yeah, we're not against each other. We're working with each other.
And 100%, Stace, you know what I mean? It's, all of our patients are expecting and deserving that safe surgery. And if we can all get along in the sandbox to make that happen, it's that much easier, right? So, yeah, and our patients benefit for that, for sure.
Absolutely. So, Pam, just a quick question. Do you find that there is challenges with the generational gaps when it comes to working together?
Yes, there's very different needs, or I don't know if I want to call it needs, very different expectations I find in the different generations. NSH does have a group that helps us with diversity and things like that. But for the most part, I don't see it impacting the outcome of the department as much as I thought it may. I don't know. I don't know how to articulate that.
No, that's okay. It's just
different needs. I think when I started, and I don't know as far back as Barry, but for us, working in the hospital was something everyone wanted to do. I mean, there was good benefits, there was pension, you felt like you were giving back. There was that sort of thing. And the folks today, pensions and medical plans don't seem to be as significant to them.
No.
Because the cost of living is so high that they need money just to survive, to pay rent, to buy food.
By day.
Right? So.
Absolutely. There is a gentleman that we will be having on the podcast in the future, and he does a very interesting talk, and he says for the first time in history, this is the only time that all 6 generations are working together.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So it's really, he touches base on just the importance of understanding everybody's different expectations, because you're right, the younger generation, and I don't mean to pinpoint on them or pick on them, but they work a little differently. So we have to kind of accept that new norm, I guess you'd say. I
find they're much more work-life balance focused than we were, and it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, not at all.
They're probably getting it right.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
And I was mentioning to Stace a little while ago that NSHA actually did, I think it was probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, then they actually did a little something on the generational gap and all the different generations working together. So that was eye-opening for me. Like Stacey was saying, we're going to have a guest on too, and he's going to really pinpoint and take a deep dive into that. And I can't wait to hear what he has to say too on that topic, right?
I'll have to make sure I tune in for that one.
Yeah, too. Yes.
Stacey, just going back to that, I think it's important that you motivate and cultivate that culture in your department too. And it's the staff do a lot of that. Like I think of Barry. Barry will often make homemade treats and bring treats in for the staff. Or on evening shift, they'll order dinner out, or we'll do a potluck through the week and celebrate MDR week and things like that. So that it's inclusive for everybody.
Absolutely. And you're not alienating that generation. Absolutely. You're welcoming them. And because the worst thing is when you start a new job and you don't feel like you belong. You want to walk into a team that you're accepted with open arms, right? So we all learn differently, and we learn from each other.
We frequently say, don't eat our young. We have to grow young.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
And Stacey said that magic word there, inclusivity. And it's big. I know for myself, I don't really see the age. I'm starting to get a little older myself, right? So I just see the team trying to get us all on that same page, trying to all pull for that patient safety. You know what I mean? And for the most part, I find everybody is a full participant in that. They want to do the right thing. Yeah.
And like Pam said, Pam and Becky both, just doing those huddles, doing those meetings, being part of, I know at our hospital, the morning huddles, we're up in the OR doing the morning huddles with the OR staff because we are one. We're working together that day to ensure patient safety from the moment that patient enters the OR till the minute they leave.
Awesome. Next question for Becky. The importance of OR staff spending time in the MDR. And Becky, vice versa, because I know I've given new nurse hires the tour, and I know it's a consensus every time I give it. And I'm not the only one that gives these tours. There's other people in our department too. And I talk with them too after they give the tours. And the nurses are blown away by the scope of what we do and just the volume of instrumentation and medical devices that we reproduce every day. And I've been on the other side of it too, where I've actually been able to go into the OR theater, the OR room, while a patient is getting operated on or having the procedure done, and to see that firsthand, that impact that MDR has on the whole scope of an operation for a patient. How do you view that, Becky?
So absolutely, it is very important for any new hires, or even I believe that a yearly refresher tour needs to happen as well. Come and spend time in the MDR. So when the OR staff understand the complexity and the importance of the reprocessing task, they gain a deeper appreciation for the work done in the MDR. It allows them to have better communication. The site I work at, we pick the cases. We have a huge warehouse. People come in and they go, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So when they're making that call down to MDR, they understand that it's not just, we have to know where everything is. So it makes the workflow smoother. Currently, they do come down and they tour. Unfortunately, I believe that anybody that works in the hospital that touches a reusable medical device needs to come and spend, I would like to see at least one full day. A week would be great. Come spend that time with us. So about a year ago, I started giving tours. I'd send out emails. So I actually have people coming from infection control. Anytime they have a new hire, they come and they tour. Any of the new nurses, the perioperative nurses in the program come. I have not all of them, but a lot of the resident doctors. So I've had orthopedics, general surgery, ophthalmology. Oh my heavens, who else have I had come? There's been a lot.
Sounds like just about everybody.
The whole trauma center.
Yeah. So with that being said, as it is important for them to come down, understanding why they need to do that pre-clean before the instruments come to decontam, understanding the process of what's that integrator mean, the BIs, the sterilization, knowing everything that goes behind the scene. As is important as it is for them to come and see us, it's just as important for us to go see what they do. Why is it important that I put that integrator in? What is the patient impact when it's missing? Or there's debris in the set? Or there's a missing instrument and it wasn't identified on the outside of the tray?
Right. Actually, you will love this. So at the hospital that I work at, any new hire in the OR, so that's aide, RN, RPN, they come spend 3 whole days with us.
Lucky you.
Yep.
Lucky you.
3 whole days. And not only do I find that beneficial in the way that they learn the flow, I also think and feel that it helps us build a relationship with that person as well.
Absolutely.
So when we see them in the OR, it's like, hey, Joe, hey, Stacy, like, you know that person because they just spent 3 whole days in our department with us. But yeah, no, we get them for 3 days. They learn the ropes. They learn it's like, this is how it goes to you. This is how we want it to come back.
Absolutely.
That's really good.
Before COVID, we had we used to do some combined in-servicing with the OR. And I remember one of the nurses stood up and said, this is so good. I know the name when I call down and the person answers the phone and identifies, but I could never put a face to the name. You are human. I'm going to maybe not be as gruff on the phone as I was, So we need to, get back to those things.
Yeah, like I can answer the phone and some people in our department say like, MDR Barry speaking or whatever. I just say MDR. And 90% of the time they'll be like, hey, Stace. Like they know it's me, depending on what OR they're calling from or who it is. They're like, I need this. I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'm like, fine. No, okay.
And, building that strong relationship too with the OR, it could be something as little as, I know in the past, like when I first started, sometimes the OR would call a medical device or an instrument multiple names. So we'd have 2 or 3 names for one same instrument. And now I rarely see that. And I find everybody on that same page and everybody's trying to call it by that same name. So we can find it for them so they can use it, right? So
yeah, you don't want to do the conversation like, I don't know what that is. Like, what's the surgeon doing? Okay, what surgery? Okay, well, it must be this that he's talking about. I'll bring it to you, which also shows the genius side of us.
Yeah. Well, we're running 16 hours a day, as well as the clinics and whatever. We're doing robotics now. Like we have, healthcare has taken leaps and bounds over the last few years. So, with robotics and just things are changing so much. Mm-hmm. So keeping staff educated and sharing the knowledge between the groups is so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Pam, how do you feel about the importance of the OR staff spending time in the MDR and vice versa? I know it's something that you've championed as a supervisor and now you do as a manager, but can you share with our audience how you feel about it?
For sure, Barry. And again, I go back to when I started. It was a requirement. We had to spend time in the OR. And I remember my first time down. I remember, some people's first time down, they unfortunately hit the floor. And there was a lot of different, reactions to it. But I think as MDRTs, we need to understand the impact we have in the OR, the patient. And I don't mean just MDRT, not just MDRTs, but leadership as well. We need to understand that when, there's debris or an instrument set in the wrong container, being there to witness that and feel your heart pounding when something is wrong and you can see that patient on the table, that they have a sleep and they opened a set and, the integrator's missing or something like that. That's very impactful, very impactful. For me, it made me remember when I went back to do my work, all of the things that I saw in the OR, and not that there was many, but when just a missing integrator is an impact to a patient. And that's something we never want to happen because, patients are somebody's loved ones. They may not be our loved ones, but they're somebody's loved ones. And we have to treat them with the same care and kindness as we would our own. So
absolutely.
The OR coming into our department, yes, I think that's significant. As Becky alluded to, we do get them to tour them right now. I love what your hospital's doing, Stacey. Like, again,
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Many years ago, again, and I keep going back because I am that old, but many years ago, the nurses did used to come and they would spend a week. The respiratory technicians spent 2 weeks. They spent a week in clean, a week in dirty. But I think, we've kind of gotten away from that. And the pendulum always swings, right? So it may be time to start going in that direction and work with the OR to see if we can get them back for a little bit longer.
Yeah, like it's not going to happen if you don't advocate for it.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, I'm all about team MDR OR relationships. It's something I've always been a huge advocate for.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, so let's talk about MDRANS. Yeah. Okay. As you may not be aware, I am part of the MDRAO board as well. So I want to know more about MDRANS.
Well, we've been around for a very long time. The first meeting was in June of 78. Yep, 1978. Yeah, so they've been around, formerly known as the CSANS, which was Central Service Association of Nova Scotia. And I'm not sure how many years ago, it would have been at least 10, that they changed the name to MDRANS, Medical Device Reprocessing Association of Nova Scotia. In 2009, I was elected as the president. Before that, I had been active with CSANS. I did treasurer and secretary. And then in 2009, I was talked into, I don't know how that happened, but some very strong-minded people asked me to run for president. So I did. And I'm shocked I was elected. Since then, I've held roles as the president a couple times, vice president, past president, and I'm currently the president again.
Oh, you went back.
Yeah, so I'm the current.
Because you're doing such a good job, they're just going to be like, what, here's your permanent position.
Yeah. So, we started doing resort settings for our conferences, so it keeps everybody together instead of doing, I know a lot of people like to come to the city, but then there's some nice shopping if you're not from the city. So we started doing resort locations outside the city, and they've worked out so well. And we always have, on the Friday, there's usually a golf tournament for those that golf, that want to go. That's, on your own kind of thing. And then Saturday, we have meetings all day, and we provide lunch. And then we usually do a supper, whether it's a buffet or a plated supper. And then a little party that night, and it's usually themed. So I know we've done pirate themed. Oh my heavens, what all?
When in Rome, right?
Oh, yeah. We've done a lot of themed. Then Sundays we started having half days on Sunday mornings. So we have our next conferences booked for September 12th to the 14th of 2025. And it's going to be held in the Best Western Bridgewater Hotel and Conference Center, so it's out of the city. However, we always have our conference off year of CAMDR, and we started having a half day or a day education session in the city that we provide to our members for free with a donation to Feed Nova Scotia and a minimal charge for people who are non-members. So normally the years of the conference, we don't, but we've had a sole sponsor who's been fabulous with us and have sponsored 2 education sessions for us. One in the spring, in May, and it was called May the 4th Be With You, and it was on May the 4th. We had one in the fall as well, and I was approached, and it looks like there's potential we'll be having another spring session. So this will be free to our members, And like I say, we asked for a donation to Feed Nova Scotia. We're just working out the kinks. It was kind of just brought up this week. And and we're working on the conference for September 2025 for speakers and details. But we have lots of fun at our conferences. We do MDR Olympics, which we had started, and I think CAMDR was doing it.
CAMDR does MDR Olympics too,
They got it from us. But as well, last year we had at our conference in 2023, we had a runway where we had a models department did a runway where they made clothes out of disposable wraps.
That's amazing.
Phenomenal. They did a great job.
Please do that next year because I will be attending that one and I want to witness this.
Yeah, it was. I'll actually even send you some pictures.
Absolutely, yeah. We will share it on the Beyond Clean LinkedIn.
Yeah, so we'll be doing that.
And
that's
Pam,
great.
do you want to share your history of MDRANS too? Because you've been at it a long time, and I said to Stacy before we started that you and Becky were doing this before it was cool, and you made it cool for the rest of us, and now we're attending. You know what I mean? So you're a huge part of this, and I'd just like to hear, and if you can share with our audience, your long history with MDRANS as well.
So yes, I've been with CSANS, as we used to call it, MDRANS, for a very long time. I started in MDR in 1982. And as I said, our manager at the time was part of CSA, and we didn't have an option. We had to go. So they used to hold a conference on Thursdays and Fridays, and half of our staff went on Thursday while the other half stayed to do the work, and the other half went on Friday, vice versa. No options. The hospital did pay for it for us, but we did have to attend. So I've been active for a very long time. I've held different roles there. In the past few years, I've tried to step back and let some other folks step up and get active because, Becky and I won't always be here, and we need other people taking those roles. So MDRANS, it's very important. I think, we need to encourage people to go, to attend. They offer scholarships. There are a lot of benefits of being a member as well. It's a good community. We all have a common goal. We network with people across Atlantic Canada. Sometimes we're lucky enough to have people from Ontario there. We've had Tammy and I don't remember the gentleman's name, but we've had several people from other provinces outside of Atlantic Canada. So it's
that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and amazing. I can say too, we're talking about building those strong relationships, and I've been a member of MDRANS for almost my entire career. I'm a huge supporter of them. They have been a huge supporter of me as well. Every course I've ever taken, I've gotten a full scholarship that I applied for from MDRANS. So, they make education accessible and affordable for the members. And like I said, I'm a huge supporter and can't wait to go and see everybody in Bridgewater next year for sure. Now,
I'm excited for it.
Yes.
Now, is this open to other people that want to attend?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. So it's not, I meant not just Nova Scotia. So
No.
Beautiful. Okay, great. Because it'd be great to get more people out to see MDRANS and meet your board and see what you do. So great.
And now we're just going to touch on both of your CAMDR careers. I know you've been a part of it. I know I've been a proud member since its inception 10 years ago. And I know you guys have been there since the beginning too. Just like to hear the CAMDR aspect, the national conference and association, and your experience working with that and what you think of that.
Okay, I'll go first. Mine's a little bit shorter than Pam's, so I'll go first. 2016 to 2018, I was a provincial advisor for Nova Scotia. Then I went on the board in 2018 to 2020 as the secretary. After that, then I'm back as a provincial advisor. I just want to kind of comment on Pam's talk about MDRANS. It's time for us to start passing down some of these torches. I've been doing MDRANS for a long time, would like to stay active, But I also think it's time for new people to get involved. Same with CAMDR. You know, if somebody in the province would want to be the provincial advisor, I would totally support that.
The newer, younger generation,
because
stepping up, and because they're going to be the ones that are in those roles for the next 25 to 30 years.
Absolutely. So yeah, like I said, I haven't, my time with CAMDR, I've been provincial advisor twice, and I've done the secretary. But Pam has been with them longer and done more, so I'm gonna.
Well, I certainly haven't done more. You're a very hard worker, Becky. Back when CAMDR was first forming, there was a group of people who were talking about it. We happened to have a MDRANS conference that year in Cape Breton. And we were all, one of the things that we did that year at MDRANS was we had a boat tour around the Brador Lakes. And so a whole bunch of us went out on the boat tour, and Abdul Karim was there. He was at our conference. He was speaking, and he had approached me and asked me if I would be interested in participating in CAMDR, that there had been a group of people already had come together and decided that they were going to do this. And I said, yes, I'm really interested. I'd love to do something like that. So they took me on as the secretary, and I stayed there for a few years. And CAMDR is an amazing organization. You know, I'm not as active with them right now. I have been on the education committee, but I really am trying to back out of roles slowly. Like it's time for me to I don't want to say go to pasture, but it's I've had a long, wonderful, healthy, fun career. I love what I do. I love my job. I love CAMDR. I love MDRANS. And I really don't want to give it all up altogether, but I do need to step back and encourage others to do those things. But CAMDR is very important. They're still kind of in their infancy, even though they're 10 years old. I have some things I would love to see happen. I look down into the U.S. and I see HSPA and, the different certifications and things like that they have. And I hope that CAMDR can grow like that. I know they will. It's just going to take time. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Awesome. And, I just want to share this too, like on the national scene too, like recently had the good fortune to be able to attend the CAMDR conference. And, I got to hang out with Stacy and a chance to meet her in person. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And I also had a chance to meet her colleagues on the MDRAO executive, and just what a phenomenal team Stacy's working with there. Like these guys just,
we have done big things. And like we do have a certified course to provide to our technicians. So it's great that we do have that.
Stacy, some of our technicians do have your course.
Yay!
Actually, when we
That's
have
amazing.
people come to us looking at what they should be taking, we'll often steer them in the direction of MDRAO because we know it's written on the standards. And
it is. It's actually, and I don't mean to toot our own horn, but I think there's 10 recognized CSA courses, and we are one of them.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Sure.
Perfect. That's great. That's amazing to hear.
And Stacy and I and the MDRAO executive were just talking around supper one night, and, it would be cool to maybe have a small exchange program where 4 or 5 MDRAO members come down to MDRANS, and MDRANS go up to MDRAO, and just
we will definitely do that.
Form that relationship and strengthen that as well.
That would be cool. That's
it will happen.
Awesome
it will happen. That I'll promise you.
Yeah,
and hopefully there's a Canadian company out there listening.
I got some pull.
That will support that as well, right? So yeah. And Becky, I know recently you've been diagnosed and are undergoing treatment. Would you share with Stacy and I and our audience just what you're going through right now, please?
So last October, I got COVID and developed a cough. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a smoker, and I've smoked for many, many years. The cough just wouldn't go away. March, I ended up in emergency with some back pain, went in, checked for heart because I've had some heart issues over the years. They did some checks on my heart, and my heart was good, but my white cell count was elevated. So they suspected I might have pneumonia. So I was honest and said, look, I'm a smoker. I've smoked for many years, and, that's always the fear of lung cancer. So they did a x-ray, and then they came out and hooked up an IV to do a CT, and I knew then that something probably was wrong. Within a few hours, I knew that I had cancer. They had found a mass in my right lung, underwent scope, got a diagnosis that it was small cell lung cancer, and that they knew at that point that it was already in some of the nodes. Before I started treatment, I had a PET scan, and the cancer had spread. So the cancer had spread to my adrenal glands, the mediastinum, which holds the heart and the lungs, as well. I had an MRI, and it was located in my brain as well. So since March, I've done 4 rounds of chemotherapy. So that's why I have the pretty haircut. It's actually grown back. 2 weeks ago, I said no more wigs. I've got hair, so I'm going wigless for a while. I've done 5 rounds of radiation on my brain, and the tumor in my brain has shrunk. I mean, it's not going to go away. I know what my prognosis is, but the tumors after the chemotherapy have all shrunk as well. So I responded very well to treatment. I also just completed mid-September 10 rounds of radiation on my chest. So, I've worked through it all. People, I did have my last round of chemo kind of set me back a little bit, and I would think I was out sick a week and a half. But otherwise, I work at one hospital. The cancer hospitals where Barry works. I would walk over, do my treatment, and walk back to work. I don't want to sit at home. What would I do? Sit at home and think of all the things that I can't do? I'm a very, very positive person. I'm realistic in knowing what I have. But, I'm hoping I'll still be here in 20 years.
You will be. You will be.
But we hope so, Becky. That's
I'm
for
a
sure.
fighter, and I'll do whatever I can.
And you got an amazing team behind
absolutely.
you.
I have a manager who...
Yeah.
I have a manager who I consider to be one of my best friends, and she supports me. My team has been so kind. My, staff, everybody has.
And you're still working.
Oh, absolutely.
Every single day.
Wow, that is dedication.
Yeah.
100%.
But like you said, it keeps your mind going though too, right? It keeps you.
Yeah. COVID was rough, and then from then on, it's just been. My husband during COVID fell down the stairs, ended up with a broken leg and a third-degree sprain in his other leg. He was diagnosed 2 years ago with stage 4 melanoma in his lymph nodes. So we are both fighting cancer together, but we are both still working. We have different treatments. He does immunotherapy. I do chemo and radiation.
You're in for the fight for your life, and you're both setting that example for everybody,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Honestly.
For sure.
Wow.
I can honestly say I've never seen a stronger, more dedicated woman, passionate, with the desire to make it better despite her own adversaries,
The true definition of a superhero.
It absolutely is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, is there, if anyone wants to know more about MDRANS, how would they go about doing that?
So we have a website, Medical Device Reprocessing Association of Nova Scotia. We also have a Facebook, but you have to be invited or whatever, so feel free to
Can they request to be a member? And then you accept on the Facebook?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I actually was very lucky. I actually spoke at an MDRAO conference a couple years ago. Presentation with an OR colleague who had spent time in the MDR. It was called Bridging the Gap.
I remember. I was in the audience.
Oh, were you?
Yep. I remember your presentation.
It was me and Beth.
That was Oh, gosh.
It was a few years ago.
I was going to say about 6 years before COVID.
Yeah.
Before
COVID.
COVID.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Now that you said it. So, yeah, I do. Yeah, so there's two of you up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's the OR educator. The other person was Beth Kingsbury, our OR educator in the Halifax Infirmary. Yeah.
Yes, I do remember. So, oh my gosh, what a great talk with Becky and Pam today. Thank you so much for sharing not only your personal stories, but as well as your history of your career. You've both put in lots of years, and like you said, Pam, it's time to lighten the plate up a bit and pass the torch off to the younger generation.
That's right.
You've paved the way. Both of you have paved the way. You're there for support. We're all here for support.
Yeah. Stacey, they've been pioneers for a long time, and they're legends in our industry.
This is great. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks to all the Canadian clean freaks out there for tuning in to another episode of the Beyond Clean Canada podcast, sponsored by the great people of Solventum. Until next time, keep fighting dirty.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Beyond Clean Canada, your source for MDR content, education, and inspiration. If you enjoyed this conversation, we'd love to hear from you on the BCCA LinkedIn or Facebook page, or anywhere podcasts are heard. Make sure to give us a 5-star rating on your favorite app. And until we talk again, keep fighting dirty.